joining. Thank you for being on time. We're going to get started in just a few minutes here, but if you would, please share your name and from where you are Zooming today in the chat. Thanks. Love to see those numbers ticking up. 28 participants joining us for lunchtime. All right. We're up at 30 participants and it's 12:31, so I'm going to go ahead and officially get started here. I'm sure we'll definitely have some other folks joining us as we come. But hello, everyone, and a big welcome from all of us at Ohio Citizen Action. Thank you for joining us today for our program, Building Momentum, from No in August to Yes in November. I'm your host, Melissa English, Deputy Director at Ohio Citizen Action, and I've just celebrated 20 years with the organization. And I'm here to tell you, in all that time, I have never seen an issue like issue one. It was an unplanned election projected for an 8% turnout that turned into a 38% blowout victory. Wow. We really appreciate everyone's interest and participation in defeating this threat to citizen power and are excited for the next chapter in safeguarding Ohioans' rights, passing the Reproductive Rights Amendment in November. Before we start today's program, though, I would like to go over just a few things. At the bottom of your screen, you will see the chat box. Please make use of it by introducing yourself and telling us from where you are Zooming today. You can monitor the chat box throughout our program for useful links and information that we'll be posting there. Speaking of the chat box, we will take questions later, time permitting, so please drop your questions there as they occur to you. Also, you can turn on closed captioning by clicking on live transcript at the bottom of your screen. Finally, to stay up to date on all the latest news and action alerts from Ohio Citizen Action, please subscribe to our email list and join our texting program. We'll put the link to join in the chat box. And now I'd like to introduce you to Ohio Citizen Action's Political Director, Kyle Marcum, and Campaigns Organizer, Tatiana Rodzos. Kyle joined the staff in 2021 as Senior Utilities Organizer after a successful stint at the Human Rights Campaign. He became our Political Director in 2022. After the Ohio Citizen Action Board voted to endorse candidates following a 28-year hiatus, there was no stopping Kyle as he directed field, phone, and digital electoral campaigns for the 2022 general election, the May 2023 Akron mayoral primary, and most recently, our successful Issue 1 campaign. Kyle works with OCA staff, community and coalition partners, public officials, and volunteers to build and win policy reforms, pass ballot initiatives, elect progressive candidates, and move the mission forward. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
Tatiana started with us as a field canvasser in 2019. She quickly moved into field canvas leadership and transitioned to the phone canvas when the pandemic forced us to shut down the field operation for 15 months. Since April of 2021, she served in her current role as campaigns organizer, where she helps research, plan, and execute campaign strategy with coalition partners in the campaigns team, integrates that strategy consistently throughout the organization, and coordinates information and feedback between the campaigns team, the digital department, and the field and phone canvases. Welcome, Tatiana.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
And if you just joined us, please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know from where you're Zooming today. We're really looking forward to today's conversation, and we have a lot of ground to cover, so let's begin. We're going to start with a short poll asking if you urged your lawmakers to vote against HJR1, SJR2 to prevent issue 1 from making the ballot. Please select one of the following options. If we can have our poll here. As someone who attended the rallies, at least one of the rallies at the State House, I must tell you, it was really powerful to be standing in that church with 700 people, to troop across the street to the State House and to yell our heads off in the rotunda. It's probably the biggest demonstration I've ever been in, and it was a lot of fun. Okay. Please get your vote in. And oh, yes, I am not surprised to see this. 77% of you took part in those efforts to prevent HJR1 and SJR2 from making the ballot. Would have been great if we had killed it in the cradle, but gladly we and our allies were prepared to push on when it made the ballot. All right, so before we get more into looking at how that campaign went and moving forward, I do want to just briefly talk about why Ohio Citizen Action went all in on stopping issue 1. First and foremost, it was a threat to our organizational principle about government working better the more people participate. It also would have meant further consolidation of power by out-of-touch lawmakers. And you only have to look at their track record recently with the coal and nuclear bailout, the heartbeat bill, the redistricting fiasco to see evidence that they do not consider us the way that they should. And finally, we had to get engaged in this because of the sneaky and hypocritical way that it came about, having just canceled August elections and reconstituting them so they could get out ahead of the November constitutional amendment on reproductive rights. Super sneaky and hypocritical. And we had to step in. So I am going to turn it over now to Kyle Marcum to talk a little bit about our approach on issue 1. Kyle?
Thanks, Melissa. First, I don't really think we can talk about our opposition on issue 1 without talking about the organized opposition to the legislative effort that put issue 1 on the ballot. Over 200 groups from across the political spectrum came together to fight against this legislative effort. We have been working on what became the August special, issue 1, since December of last year, organizing opposition to the legislation that really put this on the ballot, asking our members and supporters to call their legislators to stop this. In many ways, the group effort to stop this bad idea in the legislature really forced the hands of its supporters. They not only had to wrangle a caucus that frankly knew that this was a bad idea, but had to try this 3 separate times to get this on the ballot, only succeeding in getting it on the ballot in August ahead of the August election. We knew that not many other organizations in Ohio could really bring the grassroots power as quickly and talk to as many voters in short a period as OCA could. So we focused on direct voter contact as really the best way to contribute to the effort to defeat issue 1. So we coordinated closely with One Person, One Vote, which ran the entire statewide campaign in order to focus our field teams on likely voters and geographies where we had the most capacity. We worked closely in coordination with our statewide partners, our C3 partners, our C4 partners, and other groups to coordinate canvassing and actions. Our direct voter contact really focused on 3 main tactics: canvassing door to door, calling voters over the phone, and doing digital outreach to our members and supporters. First, I'll talk about our canvassing program and how we maximized our field capacity. So we opened our Columbus field office in May, which we're really excited about. We started field canvassing from both the Columbus and Cleveland office the day after SJR2 passed. And that's really something we're very proud about. We were there from the beginning. We train canvassers to have really productive and thorough conversation with multiple asks, having very thorough conversations with voters. Of course, we had other assets as postcards, signatures of support, and videos and pictures at the door, which we'll talk about in a second, and other actions. On the phones, we did voter education and urged folks to do LTEs, letters to the editor, and digital outreach that went beyond members and supporters to other audience that we frankly couldn't reach with our canvases. So we knew our door-to-door canvassing program was going to be incredibly important to the effort to defeat issue one. Having a one-on-one conversation with voters is still the most effective way to engage voters and increase turnout for any campaign. So we invested significant resources in growing our canvassing team and giving them the tools to have the most effective conversations possible with voters to increase turnout. So just due to where we were, the geography of our offices, and the need to talk to as many voters as possible, we focused almost exclusively in Franklin and Cuyahoga counties. We focused on both urban and suburban precincts within Columbus and Cleveland and nearby dense suburbs. Particular areas of focus were Worthington, Clintonville, Reynoldsburg, and OSU campus in Franklin County. And then in Cuyahoga County, Cleveland Heights, Westlake, Solon, and Western Cleveland precincts. Voters were canvassed on how they plan to vote in August, and whether they plan to vote by early, by mail, or on the day of the election. As we neared the time when people were beginning to go vote, we walked folks through their plan to go vote, what part of the day they wanted to go vote, and asked them to contact 3 friends and ask them to vote. We also had multiple actions at the doors, which were geared at voter turnout and engagement. Commit to vote postcards that voters signed and filled out. We collected and then mailed back to voters as a reminder to go vote. This has been an incredible tactic used by campaigns all over. We also asked voters permission to take videos or pictures of them displaying their opposition for issue one. This was a surprisingly popular ask that we were able to use for social media engagement and for the duration of the campaign. But who were we talking to at the doors? Essentially, we were canvassing voters that may come out for most elections, but may not get out for every off-year special election like this one. Given the fact that this election will likely, would have likely had lower voter turnout, largely by design, we know that every door knocked and every phone call mattered. We were speaking to folks across the political spectrum, and we knew the issue would resonate beyond party. And I think we wanted to share that video confirmation.
Voting no on August 8th to support women's reproductive rights. Door to vote no on August 8th to protect citizens' rights and women's rights.
Main focus for me and my family is reproductive rights for women and making sure that they have what they need to take care of their health.
Vote no on August 8th for women's rights.
To preserve the rights of women all over the state to have control over our bodies and our decisions.
I encourage everyone to vote no on this issue to preserve reproductive rights.
I commit to the no vote and please vote no.
I'm voting no, and I'm supporting a woman's right to choose.
I'm voting no in August for my rights, my daughter's rights, and for future women's rights.
I'm voting no to ensure women have the right to choose what they do with their bodies.
I'm voting no on August 8th in Ohio, and you should too, especially if you're interested in protecting reproductive rights for myself, for my daughter, and other women like us.
Voting yes would just give them more power, so I'm voting no because you're not going to take away my rights.
Thanks, Sarah. That was just a few of the hundreds of videos we collected at the doors. We ourselves could not believe the energy at the doors and just the anger, really, of voters. So we also had a healthy phones program that focused on reaching voters and that our door canvassers could not. We called voters both in Franklin, Cuyahoga, and Hamilton, but also in Warren, Delaware, Licking, Logan, Union, and Stark counties, just to name a few. We also had a digital program that targeted voters in more remote and rural areas where there were still pockets of likely progressive voters. We then added in Logan, Madison, and Fairfield counties to begin outreach in those areas where there will likely be utility scale solar targets, another campaign we were working on. The video messages really contained a vote no message and voter education, letting them know about this election. We then used that field content we were able to gather at the doors to fuel our digital outreach, sharing out the videos we collected and really showing the incredible energy that we were seeing out in the community against issue one, really amplifying the voters' voices, while frankly, the Ohio legislatures tried to silence it. Finally, we held multiple events and earned media opportunities to raise the campaign's profile and encourage volunteers. If we could show those media slides now.
Thanks for your patience with our technical difficulties, everyone. We realize the chat is not open, so do please drop your questions in the Q&A box instead. Thank you.
All right, well, I will go ahead and throw it over to Todd to talk about how we did by the numbers.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, so as Kyle mentioned, we had, a three-pronged approach to voter outreach. So starting with our field canvas, we got to work knocking right away the day after SJR2 passed. So we knocked on doors from May 11th to August 8th. And in that time, we knocked 75,954 doors. We canvassed 18,087 people. And of those 18,000 people, we were able to confirm that 14,358 were going to vote or had already voted no. So 80% of the people we canvassed at the doors were voting no. And our field canvas also engaged folks in various actions throughout the campaign. We had postcards for folks to sign at the door committing to vote no. We mailed those back in time to remind them to get out the vote, and we were able to collect 4,165 of those. We also engaged folks in vote tripling, asking people at the door to text 3 or more friends and urge them to vote no. And then our videos, so glad you all got to see that just a couple minutes ago. The video action that we were engaging folks in was a pilot project for us. We have always gotten folks involved in different political actions like writing letters or calling their legislators. But this was different because it was a ballot issue. So as opposed to the targets for our political actions being our legislators, the targets are Ohio voters. So the best way to reach as many voters as possible right now is social media. So we had this idea to ask folks to take videos at the door and explain their opposition to issue 1 and encourage their fellow Ohio voters to vote no as well. So in that time frame from May 11th to August 8th, we collected 3,315 videos, which we are just incredibly proud of and very impressed by too, that so many Ohioans were willing to get on camera right away, unprompted almost, and speak up. And we were able to, from that over 3,000 videos, create 31 compilation videos. So you saw that one a few minutes ago, but if you're interested in scrolling through more, they're all available on our YouTube and other social media platforms as well. And then second, we had our phone canvas, great success there. So our phone canvas started calling to get out the vote once early vote was started in July. So they called from July 6th to August 7th. And in that time, we were able to make 53,943 dials. We had 4,366 conversations with voters, and we confirmed almost 1,961 no votes. So 45% of the folks we were talking to were voting or had already voted no on issue 1, which again, we are just amazed by because our phone canvas was reaching more rural voters. And as well, our phone canvas engaged folks in vote tripling too, but also organizing folks to write letters to the editor. So we were able to help 39 people get their letter to the editor sent out to newspapers across the state. Each person's letter was sent out to a handful of newspapers in their area. And then lastly, our digital program. We had great success there, partly in thanks to all the videos that we were able to collect. So this is across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, these numbers. We had over 1 million impressions. And impressions, if you're unaware, are just the amount of times that people view your post on social media. So just seeing it at all. And then engagements, that's when someone likes, comments, or shares a post. We had 78,640 engagements. Our video views went crazy. We had 514,011 video views from those 31 compilation videos. And we were able to grow our audience by 972 in just 30 days. So by over 200%. So if you're one of those people who followed us in recent times, or you have been from the beginning, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you. And now I'll pass it back to Kyle.
Thanks, Tatiana. So I really want to talk about lessons learned. So one of the biggest lessons I think we learned over the course of the campaign is that Ohioans are paying attention and they understand when their rights are being threatened. Even before we talked to people at the doors, a lot of people actually heard about issue 1 through the media, and they were understandably angry about this attempt to weaken their voting rights. When a voter had not heard about issue 1, we explained what this would do to a century-old right to amend the state constitution, and they were almost unanimously opposed to it. We also learned that one-on-one conversations, the sort of personal contact we had with voters, combated some of the confusion. For instance, there were some voters that were planning to vote yes because they just frankly had not heard exactly what issue 1 would do. After simply explaining how it worked, we were able to flip those voters to no voters. We also demystified polling place moves and new voter ID requirements. Particularly in Franklin County, in the Columbus area, there were a lot of new and changed voting locations due to the rush nature of the special election. We were able to educate voters on where they needed to go vote if they wanted to vote on August 8th. In addition, we also educated voters on new voter ID requirements to show picture ID for folks who wanted to vote early on election day. We also learned that a lot more people were willing to share their opinions on camera than we guessed. I should have actually said we got thousands of videos, on hundreds a little earlier on, because we got thousands of videos from people at the doors. Like I said, we ourselves could not believe the energy at the doors and just the sort of anger around this issue. We also learned that our total focus around this campaign allowed us to be more effective. We had actually stopped our door-to-door fundraising in order to totally focus our efforts on issue 1. Due to this decision, we found we can get to about 20% more doors per shift. And like I said, every door, every conversation absolutely mattered. We also found out that carefully targeting our engagement, focusing on field outreach in urban areas and suburban areas, and phones and digital ads in rural areas could really move the needle. I think I'd like to note here the stunning Cuyahoga County turnout. As many people are aware, Ohio is really seeing progressive turnout in Cuyahoga County trail off in recent years. However, in August, voters reversed that trend. Turnout in Cuyahoga County was 38%, matching the statewide average. This turnout was better than both the May and September primary elections last year, and better than the turnout for congressional races and local issues in the general election in 2021. I want to say that again, it was better than the general election in 2021, and that is incredible. So 8 cities in Cuyahoga County voted against state issue 1 with over 90% of the vote. Isn't that just incredible? East Cleveland, Warrenville Heights, Highland Heights, North Randall, and just to name a few. And 15 counties that voted for Trump in 2020 voted no on August 8th. And we just think that's really a testament to some of our rural outreach. Finally, we learned that starting early paid off. Our campaign ramped up faster than issue 1's proponents, really getting our arguments in the public's mind first. And being first in the field led us some great media coverage, which in turn helped us with response to outreach. We talked to a lot of reporters and media over the course of this campaign. And a lot of reporters actually want to go out with us on the doors. Outlets, local outlets like the Columbus Dispatch, the Cincinnati Enquirer, the Akron Beacon Journal joined us, but also national folks like the Atlantic Magazine. We even had several interviews and several reporters go out with us, our canvassers from international outlets like The Guardian. Next slide. We also did quite a few interviews with his reporters. Like I said, we had local, national, and international outlets reach out to us, and we did several on-camera interviews. You can see Todd and I on camera there talking about our work that really got the message out to anyone who was listening. And we were also able to get 39 digital letters to the editor submitted to Ohio newspapers. So clearly Ohioans were voting and listening. So I will pass it back over to Tatiana to talk about how these lessons will impact the November election work.
Okay, yeah. So moving into November, continuing to build this momentum. So as many of you know, we are working to pass issue 1 in November, the Abortion and Reproductive Rights Constitutional Amendment. So some of our lessons that we've learned: get started as soon as possible. We did that for issue 1 in August, and it paid off. The umbrella campaign leading the work to pass issue 1 in November is called Ohioans United for Reproductive Rights. You can see it right there, OURR. They are the experts in this work. Our lane is grassroots organizing for sure, and we're taking pointers from them on messaging and also targeting, so who to canvass for this campaign. So once we received that messaging and targeting on the OURR campaign, we began our field canvassing on September 7th, last Thursday, and our phone canvassing just yesterday. So we're already rolling and we're getting going on this. As with the OPOV campaign, One Person, One Vote, we want to be the first and last contact for voters. It's important that we're the first thing that they hear about and the last thing that they see in order to turn as many people out to vote as possible. And then secondly, we learned that it's really important to use Ohioans' own words to motivate others across the state to vote via videos from the field, amplified on social media. Many people feel as strongly about reproductive rights as they do about voter rights. And messaging about reproductive rights, as we learned with the OPOV campaign, helps to turn people out to vote. We saw that stunning voter turnout in Cuyahoga County after years of dwindling voter turnout. That is because this messaging works. And storytelling works, people sharing their stories, their views with other Ohioans. So we're going to work with the OURR campaign to help uplift the stories from people who want to tell them and explain why they are voting yes in November. We are also focused on talking to folks across the political spectrum. So reproductive rights, I want to say, it matters to everyone. It matters to so many people, no matter where they sit politically. So that's why it's so crucial that we're reaching everyone we can, not just focusing on one party. And then as well, taking the time to really engage with folks and listen to people at the door and on the phone. We know that this works because we need to meet people where they're at. We need to be able to, there's a lot of questions surrounding the reproductive rights constitutional amendment. We need to be able to answer those, help people along, and show them why it's important that they vote yes in November. This is also crucial because we're going to need to combat misinformation. We had a lot of this on the OPOV campaign, and we know there is going to be, unfortunately, even so much more misinformation with the reproductive rights constitutional amendment and the opposition to that. So not only misinformation just on the content of the amendment, but also the confusion that issue 1 was bad in August. We voted no in August, but it's good in November. We're voting yes in November. So we're hearing ourselves already in the last few days of canvassing say that a lot. Yes, it was no in August, but it's yes in November. And then we also learned that the great organization and success of the No in August campaign really set us up beautifully to mobilize Ohio to vote yes in November. So that's why we're keeping the momentum going. I also still think back to the amazing voter turnout of Cuyahoga County and the state in general. The projected turnout for the whole state in August was 8%, and we hit 38%. So luckily for us, these elections are close together. At first, this seemed like pretty insidious, the worst idea ever. It was an illegal election, essentially. And the state legislature knew or expected it to be low voter turnout. But with it coming so close to November, it's been easy for us to, or for Ohioans to stay mad, stay mobilized, and turn out again to vote yes in November. So I think that August election happening when it did, if it had to happen, did benefit us. And then our goals for the OPOV campaign, voting no in August, were we set really ambitious goals. So goals in terms of how many doors we wanted to knock, how many people we wanted to talk to, how many phone calls that we wanted to make, and our digital goals as well. We set ambitious goals and we still blew them all out of the water. So we're going to do that again. We're going to repeat what we did, set ambitious goals for the reproductive rights constitutional amendment, and we're going to smash it. We're going to blow it out of the water again. So this will take us to our next poll. We want to know how you heard about the webinar. This way we can better keep in contact with you in the future and continue to involve you in our campaigns moving forward in the ways that you want to be involved. So just take a moment. You can also choose a couple different ways if you heard about this through multiple mediums. Cool. Thank you all so much. I see overwhelmingly from email, so that's great. Thank you. And over to Melissa for the next portion here.
Yes, so as you know, as the name says, Ohio Citizen Action, we need action from citizens to be successful. And so now I want to go over with you just a few different ways that you can help us to keep our momentum going and win in November. Number one, take down any no on issue 1 signs you see from August. Your own yards, in the public medians, get them out of there so we don't confuse people. Also, number 2, help us hire more field staff in Cleveland and Columbus. We were able to smash our door goals in particular because we were able to hire professional people to go out and knock on doors. Kyle, Tatiana, and I have all done door knocking. We know it's effective. The ideal candidates for these jobs are students who are looking for part-time work, anybody who volunteered with the issue 1 campaign, or against issue 1, I should say, in August, and really anybody who's looking for entry-level organizing jobs. We do have information on our website to give people the information they need to apply for those jobs. We do have excellent training. We have the ability to give people different types of organizing experience and the starting pay of $15.50 per hour. The possibility is good that these jobs will extend past Election Day, after which time full-time people can qualify for vacation and benefits. Third way you can help us is by amplifying our messaging on social media. By following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn, you help us to reach even more people in your networks that want to see abortion rights enshrined in our Constitution in Ohio. The fourth way you can help is by voting early and encouraging other people to do that too. Simply by voting early and posting it on social media, you're planting a seed in somebody's mind. Oh yeah, there's an election. It's kind of important. I should go out and vote too. So please do that. It makes a difference when other people see you're voting. And the final way that you could assist us to win is by contributing an ongoing monthly sustaining gift to Ohio Citizen Action. As Kyle mentioned before, we recently made the move of stopping fundraising in the field. It was the right thing to do for our campaign because it increases our reach and our capacity, but it is going to make a difference in terms of our ability to be funded by the citizens of Ohio. Being funded by the citizens of Ohio is important to us because it keeps us accountable to you. By making a gift even as small as $5 a month, what a fancy coffee might cost you, you can help sponsor a field canvasser to go out and do this work on your behalf. The monthly contributions help us to respond quickly to unforeseen opportunities and challenges, and it helps us cut fundraising costs, which means that more of your money goes towards the work, which is where you want to see it. So please consider that as well. I'm going to turn it over to Tatiana for the final poll, and then looks like we do have time for some Q&A. Tatiana.
Okay, so last poll, what time of day is best for you to attend events like this? We want to be able to see your faces again in the future, so please let us know. Okay, I'm glad that we picked the majority favored time today. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you. And looks like we do have some time for Q&A. I've seen a lot already go into the Q&A box. So most of these questions are answered, but I'm going to repeat a couple important ones for anyone who might not have read them yet. Will there be an emphasis on both November ballot issues? Right now, we are focusing on issue 1, so the reproductive rights constitutional amendment. Let's see, we got a couple open ones. Is there availability for people to do social media work, phone banking, etc., with no contact? So right now with our organization, we don't have text banking available. But I know that the OURR campaign does have some volunteering available, or they should soon. So we can share a link for you to go there and check that out. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Feel free to pop them in the question and answer.
Well, I kind of have a question because I know you have the answer. After issue 1 failed, we heard some rumblings that this attempt to make the bar higher to pass citizen-led ballot initiatives might come back. Do you think there's any interest in that amongst our legislators?
Yes, in fact, I know there's interest in that, unfortunately. So in his press conference after losing the fight in issue 1, Senate President Matt Huffman said, yes, they would like to bring this up again to the people for a vote in support of supermajority rule again. Gongwer, a news outlet, they sent out an anonymous poll to the state legislature asking, should voters be asked again to raise the threshold to pass constitutional amendments? 100% of Democrats said no. 16% of the GOP said no. 22% were undecided, but a whopping 63% of Republicans said yes, we should put this before Ohio voters again. So disappointing that they can't listen very well after we clearly defeated that in August, resoundingly. But if we must do it again, we will, and we'll win again. We were very organized the first time around, so we've got the tools to do it again if we need. Let's take a look at the other questions here.
I know a couple people asked about yard signs, and I'll say that the OURR campaign, the reproductive rights campaign, is handling that. When I know yard signs, they are still in the process of getting those. When they get those and start distributing them, we will send out an email out to all our members and supporters to let them know.
Going along with that, we got a question from Jennifer, asking if there are car window decals or stickers or magnets or anything. So I think that will go along with the yard signs. If we hear anything from OURR that they've got those as well, we'll be sure to let you know over email. Kevin asked, do we have any ongoing relationships with the people that we canvassed? Can we activate them? Yes, this is our specialty. Building relationships and keeping people involved, not just for the current campaign, but for campaigns to come. So we're reaching out to those folks digitally and on the phones as well to help turn them out in November to vote yes.
I know it's early days yet, Tatiana, but can you report out at all about what kind of response our field and phone canvassers have had working on this issue?
Yeah, early days for sure, but the response has been good so far. Yeah. We are targeting people who are likely to vote on this, like I said, across the political spectrum. And folks are still fired up, I believe, from the August special election. What's important to note, though, is some people are still confused, like I said, how issue 1 was bad in August and good in November. So right now that confusion is what we're working on clearing up for folks. But once folks know what's going on, they're excited to vote yes in November. And our phones just started calling only yesterday. And this morning they had nothing but good things to say about all the folks that they talked to, getting people involved with that vote tripling, asking them to reach out to their family and friends as well. Seemed to be real easy. So
Yes, I think the phones are calling our existing members first until we can get some more information from OURR. So I'm really glad to hear that our members are down with this cause. I'm not surprised in the least. And I believe the phone director was saying that most of the people that we talked to agreed to getting a ping to remind them to vote as we get closer to the actual election. So that's great. That's a service that we're very happy to provide, like we do in the field with the postcards. So
that's right. And I'm happy to say that in just 3 days, our 2 field canvases have knocked 3,413 doors already. So that goes back to what I said about blowing our goals out of the water. We're going to do it.
yes, now we just need to hire some more people so we can do even better.
That's right. Looking for more questions here. Is any work being done for persuasion, or is it mostly turnout going forward? Kyle, do you think you can take this one?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the group of people we're talking to will be likely yes voters, but we are doing a little bit of persuasion at the doors, talking about why reproductive rights is just so important. But the majority of our engagement will be turning out voters who are already likely to vote yes.
You know, since you brought that up, Kyle, it brings to mind a question I got via email from a member recently, which is why Ohio Citizen Action is even working on this. This is a person that joined in the, oh gosh, I guess it would have been the mid-90s when we were still working on Good Neighbor campaigns. And it kind of made sense to me that they would ask that question because we have worked on pollution prevention campaigns and climate and energy campaigns and utility campaigns pretty consistently since that time. But Ohio Citizen Action has been around for 48 years. We have a history of working on healthcare issues a little before my time, but we actually worked to get single payer healthcare in this country and in this state. And healthcare is absolutely a commodity that we have to seek in the marketplace. It's a consumer issue, undeniably, among other things. And Ohio Citizen Action understands that consumers should have the right to purchase any treatments that they and their doctors decide are appropriate and safe. So that is one of the main ways that we're coming at this, is as a consumer issue.
I would also add one of the strengths of the OPOV campaign was that it was an all hands on deck approach. It wasn't just democracy, folks that were concerned about democracy. It was unions. It was the repro campaigns. It was LGBTQ groups. It was people from all corners of the progressive arena, and we saw that led to victory. And I think this campaign is the same way. Everyone needs to kind of pitch in, but like Melissa said, it's also a healthcare issue and something that we've been focused on for a long time.
Thank you. Someone asked, what about volunteer canvassers in addition to paid canvassers? Right now at OCA, we don't have a volunteer program. We have paid canvassers coming on, but Ohio Citizen Action has added to that in the Q&A that OURR is organizing volunteer canvasses with the link if you'd like to check that out. We got a good question from Louise. Will you stress miscarriage care, contraception, and fertility treatment rights in addition to abortion rights? Yeah, so this is all part of the OURR messaging. What's most important is that we are stressing freedom to make decisions for Ohio families and for people like specifically on pregnancy and abortion care. So that kind of what you have laid out there is that all of the above. Do you have anything to add to that, Kyle?
No, just to say that we're not the sort of experts on this particular issue, and we're really referring to the messaging that we're getting from the OURR campaign, and the groups like Pro-Choice Ohio and Planned Parenthood have really led the way on the ways to talk about this. And we're really grateful for their help and support.
All right, so unless there are further questions, we might as well wrap this up. Lunch hour only lasts so long. But I do want to thank my guests, Kyle Marcum and Tatiana Rodzos, for spending their lunchtime with me. Thanks Sarah and Angela and all the OCA staff for their help with this event and for their work on issue 1. And thanks for all of you sharing your lunchtime with us. We will be sending out a follow-up email with all the links that we shared today, and we do welcome your help and support, keeping our momentum going till November and beyond. The foes of democracy have awaked a sleeping giant in Ohio, and we are proud to stand with you all to defend our rights.